I would say relationships and people are always my superpower without me even realizing it. That's what's opened up a lot of doors in life. The purpose is truly to please God and to serve people. To me, a good life is just one where I get to go and bless other people.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. This is Dr. B. You are here on the Journey Freedom Podcast. I'm so excited about today, as I am all the time, and just making sure that on the Journey to Freedom Podcast, we find the best folks that are doing things to make a difference in our world, to make a difference in our communities, to make a difference in our society. And I just can't wait to have this conversation. I asked Phillip, he's been traveling all over the entire planet. Sometimes we have people that are traveling in between their counties or their cities. But the things that he's willing to do. And I just kind of asked him, before we got started, what are you most excited about? And he said he's excited because he realizes that, I guess there was a quote, he let him talk about it a little bit, where sacrifice matches ambition, which is so cool when you think about, are you doing the things that you're ambitious about? Are you living in your purpose? Are you doing what you believe you were put on this earth to do? I always like to say, dear Lord, give me the wisdom to do the things you put me on this earth to do in a way that pleases you and serves others. And so Phillip is one of these folks that has realized, if I serve others, then I will hit all the things that I want to hit in life and all the things that I want to make happen. And so thank you for being on today. Thank you for, taking your time out. I know you said you were in Atlanta for a few hours. You were in, I think you said Kenya for a while. Now you're in DC, getting ready to go back to Atlanta, then to travel around the rest of the world. And so just excited that you're here with us. Like all of our guests, I've asked you to tell your story. Your story can start anywhere, mother's womb to now, but what's going to impact it most to be able to have this conversation. And so, Phil, thanks for being on, and I'm going to let you go ahead and tell your story, and then we'll chop it up right after that.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Dr. B. Yeah, super excited to be here and just to have the conversation. I think this is how, we get to learn not only from the experiences that we have in life, but also from the experiences of others. It doesn't mean we can't go and scrape our knee and figure some things out, but I think it really does help. And I can definitely say it's helped me along my journey to have been able to take time to have conversations with people like Dr. B, both, where I'm talking about what I've experienced, but also what they've experienced, because it's a two-way street that we get to learn pretty much everything in life. So where to begin? My family immigrated from Kenya a handful of years before I was born, which was in the early 90s, which is very interesting to say. Knocking on 30 this year, so very excited about that. My dad's an engineer. Thank you. My dad's an engineer by trade. My mom's a teacher. But outside of what they did for work, one thing that was always very big for them was service. And so it was funny growing up. I thought everyone used to spend their weekend either like packaging up clothes to like send to the homeless or giving out food and doing different stuff. It's like that's just how deeply rooted service kind of was from the standpoint of a family. And so also just an understanding of the first time I got to leave the country and go see essentially the beginnings of where my parents began, I was about 4 years old. And, you can't really understand everything from the standpoint of being poor. But one thing that I did understand was that we were a lot more fortunate in America than what many people were there to experience in Africa. And I think as I've continued to go back and continue to experience traveling, working both on the nonprofit side in different parts of the world, I've been blessed enough to get to go and work in hospitals in Europe and work with nonprofits and different stuff in South America, also in the United States. And it really just gives you perspective, not to trauma compare or look at it like, this is so much worse, so like I have to be grateful for what's here. I mean, that's not a bad way of looking at it, but more so like everyone has their challenges no matter where they are in the world. There are people in the US that live in food deserts and have to deal with plenty of things that are very difficult as far as their environmental circumstances, which I think is what really translates to how you view freedom. Because to me, freedom is really of the mind more than anything else. Like, of course, your circumstances can definitely help make that be a lot easier or a lot harder. And there's so many beliefs, whether limiting or empowering, that kind of come along as we live our story. So all that to say, going back to the beginning, once again, one of the things that I'm very blessed that how my parents poured into me was that I was always told I can do anything that I put my mind into. And so I never approached a lot of things in the world as if something is too difficult to attain. Of course, money was a very different topic. Of course, in like foreign households, if none of y'all have experience, you don't really talk about money, and you don't really look at it from like there's a bunch of stuff to waste and everything else, because people are also supporting families and stuff back home. So it was never an aspect. I think I understand it better now that we didn't have it. It was more so the aspect of it's already allocated to do other things and to serve other people. But the easiest way to translate that to a child is that we didn't have it. So from a monetary standpoint, I grew up thinking that there wasn't a gigantic abundance of stuff. But what I understand now is that I really had the greatest form of wealth, which was community, which was, emotionally stable environment, which was like people that were there and loved and cared for me, which is more than what, not everyone can have. And so I definitely look at it as I continue to grow and progress through my journey. And it was a lot of trial and error. So I love math. I love science. I was like, okay, maybe I want to like do something like engineering. My dad's engineer, so I got to go and, shadow him at work and see what it was like. Didn't really care for it. Decided to go back and I was like, okay, cool. I was like, maybe I'll do something in IT. I used to love like tinkering with computers and like programming, jailbreaking iPhones and doing stuff like that. I was like, all right. So I got an IT internship at a reverse mortgage company when I was leaving high school. And I remember walking into work and watching people go into cubicles and not come out for like 10 hours throughout the day. And I was like, I would blow my brains out before I sit here and like not talk to people for like 10 hours a day. That's just not my personal cup of tea. So I was like, what's something I can do where I can use math or science or math and science and I can still interact with people? So I was like, all right, cool. Medicine, I'll give medicine a shot. So I started off studying biology my freshman year of undergrad. And as I continued, working within the first couple of months, there was a young lady that I knew at the time that planned on being a pharmacist. And this is where I learned, so long as you're 18 and you had a clean background, you can actually work in a pharmacy once you're 18 years old. So I was like, okay, this will be awesome. I can learn pharmacology and have like a leg up for medical school. And it'll give me an opportunity to learn more of the practical side of kind of what I'm learning at school. So I did that, continued on. My sophomore year, I had the opportunity to go and do a medical fellowship. I got to go work in Athens, Greece, in 2 hospitals, Evangelismos and Iaso, one public, one private. And it was actually during that time that I realized, I was planning on doing anesthesia. I realized I didn't want to do it. And part of that was, one, I was very ignorant to the fact of you can become a doctor and you can do everything correct and things still go wrong, people still get hurt, and people still die. And being scrubbed in, watching surgeries as close as we are kind of like here to where I'm looking at like my computer and my phone, and watching things go wrong, not that it shattered my perspective. It shattered my perspective and my reality of what I knew or what I thought getting into medicine was. I remember a conversation with a man that had just got out of heart surgery, and he was in the cardiac ICU. And so this dude's probably in his late 80s, maybe early 90s. And so he's sitting strapped in the bed, and we're there monitoring, taking notes, going around doing like rounds. And anytime that like someone stopped watching him, he's trying to get out of the bed. And
oh my gosh.
He's tubed up, he's intubated, got all this stuff, and it's like he keeps trying to get out of bed, and it's like, dude, like sit down, please sit down. You just got out of heart surgery. So we're leaving for the day, and the guy's son approaches us because like we're either we're dressed up or we're scrubbed up, so they don't know whether we're residents, interns, whatever the heck. And so he's like, hey, how's my father doing? We're like, you got to go down to the cardiac ICU to like double check. But the fact that your father is this old and just got out of heart surgery and still has an itch to get up, I think that he's quite resilient, and I'm pretty sure and hope that he makes a quite speedy recovery. And it's like even realizing those are a lot of the conversations that you had to have. And I felt like I was worried one of two things was going to happen. Either I would very much so get desensitized to death, or two, I would empathetically take a lot of it on and then drown myself in a vice. And from also knowing a handful of doctors, I saw a lot of people who kind of exhibited both. Of course, now I understand there's healthier ways and outcomes of doing that. But at 19, that was that was my realm and thought of like these are the two things that could happen. So came back from Athens. Was still working in pharmacy some way somehow. Ended up changing pharmacy gigs. And at the new pharmacy that I was working at, it was so different because I had like a management position when I was like 19. So I was managing people, schedules, pharmacy inventory, a bunch of different stuff. And I switched pharmacies and I was actually making more than double the money, but I had like no responsibilities whatsoever. It was amazing. I went from a place that was like, it was super understaffed at the first place. I had so much time. I had time to do homework and read books at my other job. And I was like, dang, like, this is great. Plus holidays was like triple pay. So it's like, you can make up to close to like $70 an hour. And outside of working like New Year's Day, you don't want to work New Year's Day or like the 31st or New Year's Eve. Any other holiday, you're in there like reading a book, shooting a breeze, and not doing too much of nothing. So it was really great. So while working in that pharmacy, I love, conversation, just like we're having here. So I used to always talk to pharmacists and different doctors, because it was an all-inclusive medical center, about, what they were doing, what they were interested in, like, what did the season of life look like. And there was one pharmacist that I got to work with who really didn't necessarily care for being there. And I'm like, dude, you're young, you're black, you're making 200, you're making 200K plus, you're a doctor, you're married, you got healthy kids. It's like, you have like the picture dream life, essentially, of how I'm looking at it. So it's like, how is it that, like, what else is there? Like, what else would you want to do? Or what else are you looking at of, like, this is what I want life to look like? And he was telling me about what his family members was doing in finance. And I was like, I was so intrigued, just because I just never heard anything like that. And I was like, dang, like, this is really interesting. And I was like, well, if I'm smart enough to become you, like, I'm smart enough to become them. So I was like, I'm going to try to, like, do that now. And it was dope, because he also was very much so, like, willing to put me in different spaces, room. If I needed time off work because I wanted to go to, like, a business convention or whatever the heck, like, I'd have it. And we actually ended up we're still in business together now, and going on to do different real estate deals and community service stuff together. So I'm really thankful, just like, for how, as we communicate, and this is another favorite quote, it's like, your quality of life is based on your quality of relationships. Your quality of relationships is based on your quality of communication. If you learn how to communicate, you can have anything out of life. And so just by communicating and being intrigued, I think curiosity goes a really far way. Being curious about, his life, his journey, and what it is he was looking out of it, it opened up the pathway for me to learn more about how he was thinking, and ended up creating a new pathway and opportunities for me to go out and try and do a lot of stuff. And this is about, 7 years and some change ago. So that's how long my mom said I've been doing business my entire life. But from a more serious standpoint in adulthood, it's been about 7.5 years of trial and error of a lot of different stuff. And that's looked like everything from working with startups and scaling them, to having car rental companies and scaling up that, to building houses from scratch, syndicating into larger development deals, to flipping houses, to Airbnbs, to Section 8 rentals, to doing community service projects, both like here, like hundreds of projects at this point, doing a lot of public speaking stuff, a lot of marketing stuff. It's been a very interesting thing, but you wipe all of that away and someone's like, what's your real why? My real why is I always wanted to be a stay-at-home dad.
Oh, nice. Wow. Okay. I love it. Oh my gosh. I don't know if that's working really well right now.
Well, no kids, so I think the traveling thing works, but stay at home, I don't have to do at the moment. I just understood it was expensive, and I felt like for those formative years, for when I do start a family, I wanted to have the flexibility to actually be there and enjoy more time with my kids, while still being able to provide a particular type of lifestyle and comfort for them as well.
Gotcha. So are you married now and have a partner that eventually you're going to get, have kids with, or you just doing the fun traveling thing right now?
As always, working on it. Not married just yet, but we're working on it. So, but he who finds a wife finds a blessed thing. So we're still out here keeping our eyes and our heart open to find whoever we get to build that lucky life with.
Oh my gosh, well, that is so cool. So, like right now, like you're saying, you're traveling and you're spending your time and you're moving all over the place. What is it that you're so like into right now or do you think this is it? This is what you're going to continue to do, or is it just we're going to continue to find things that are fun to do?
Yeah, I think life is all about exploration, and I'm forgetting the name of the gentleman, but he had a practice that I was like, I really love this. He would pick like one thing that was like super radical that he normally wouldn't do, at least like once every 2 months. That way, like, you're blessed to live, 80, 100 years. Like, you have so many experiences that were like out of the ordinary. So I remember like one of those things for me is I had a buddy that wanted to do he wanted to do stand-up comedy. And so I do a lot of public speaking. I'm very comfortable doing like stuff like this, but stand-up comedy is a very different kind of public speaking. But I was like, hey man, if you do it, like, I'll do it too. And so that was like one of those moments where it's like I get to open the door and just like peer into something different that I normally wouldn't. And I had a great time, and we got some chuckles out the audience. I don't know if I'll make a career out of it, but that's just one of the things that I'm like, okay, like that's fun. I don't see myself changing a whole bunch about, I guess, like how I move my life at the moment, but definitely just choosing to enjoy the present moments and being open to changing and pivoting like as things see fit. Of course, I don't plan on traveling and doing stuff like this when married or having a kid until the kids are maybe a little bit older. But for this season particularly, it's enabled me to enjoy, see a lot, do a lot, learn more about myself and about the world. And for that, I'm always thankful.
Which is so cool. And one of the things, like you said, about communication and being that higher level, I mean, when you think about stand-up comedy and you think of different ways of communicating, the better communicator you are, I believe everybody should take at least go to like a theater or some way that you're communicating where you have to have timing and you have to have the ability to memorize lines and to be able to read the audiences. It helps in everything that you do.
Yeah.
One of the things I'd love to kind of explore with you a little bit is just the single call identity, like who you are and how you become the person that you are, because you're evidently able to move into different circles and different people, and so many of us have issues, or I don't know if it's just issues, but just don't know how to have that identity that allows us to communicate with all kind of different people. And so, what is it that you think happened in your life that allowed you to be in a position where you continue to work on yourself, but then also be able to have that identity that allows you to move into these different circles and people? And
Yeah, I think it was definitely a good balance of kind of like watching my parents. It's very interesting. People always look at it like my mom does a lot of public speaking, and so they always see her as like the very like the social one that brings everyone nearby. But it's actually my dad who's the one who's like the very crazy social butterfly. Like we could be walking somewhere and randomly like meet someone random in a Home Depot, and then suddenly it's like an hour-long conversation and stuff like they can pass by, and it's like. So I watched, and both of them can do both things that the other does. My mom is really great at commanding a room, and my dad is really great at just like connecting with any and everyone. And so they can both do both, but that's where I saw them shine. And so I'd like to say like I'm a happy middle of like both of them. A friend asked me a similar question, like how do you find it easy to connect with people? And I finally was able to think on it and put it into words. And I said, I treat people like they're interesting until they prove that they're not, rather than the reverse, which is what most people do. Most people, once they hear, maybe what you do, whatever accomplishments, whatever accolades, whatever car, or whatever else is like, they have a curiosity towards. Now their ears perk up and they're looking to have a conversation. In comparison to if you approach everyone in most situations, when you have the bandwidth and capacity to do so, like it's interesting, that curiosity can bring about so many different pathways and meanings of connections rather than kind of being guarded towards like, is it even worth having a conversation with this person? It's like, it's worth having a conversation with anyone. You never know who and what you'll learn from in any given scenario. And talking to strangers has definitely brought me a lot of good fortune in life.
oh my gosh. And you just you shocked me because you said your dad's an engineer. And then he's out there in the middle. Because every engineer that I know typically doesn't really want to have a conversation with anybody. They'd rather be over in the corner doing their calculations and all that kind of stuff. So I got your dad's got to be this amazing man that has the ability to be able to concentrate and think on these calculations and this detailed stuff, but at the same time be able to look at other people. One of the things that you said that I really want to bring out and point out to folks is because one of the things, especially like on social media or all this, is folks that don't do well are always trying to be interesting instead of being interested. And then what you just said is, I'm finding out what's interesting about others. So I'm interested, and that's what makes me interesting for other people to find, because you get to learn so much, you get to grow so much, you get to I guess understand the way the world works by being interested in other people. And so is that something that you had to work on, or is it just something that just came, hey, I understand that if I'm going to be the best I can be, I got to be interested.
I think it was something that just naturally happened. It's funny, and I apologize to my elementary school teachers because I'm about to tell on myself. I used to hate reading books, and so I used to always just like read the beginning and the end of a chapter, and then I would just like figure out how to communicate in a way that was vague enough that I'd still get an A on my paper. But one of the things that I always was interested in was people. So I didn't realize it like before, but people were like my books. I felt like it was like I get a story, but I'm getting it like in real time. So I used to always enjoy just having conversations with all different types of people about like any and everything from the time that I was really a child. I think I've probably regressed a little bit now that I'm older, but because bandwidth and time. But I think it's always just been something natural that I really did enjoy people. I would say relationships and people are always my superpower. without me even realizing it. That's what's opened up a lot of doors in life.
Well, and I would suggest that the reason that you're as successful as you are at all the different things you do is because of that superpower, is because of that ability to create relationships with people and be. And if I guess I would say this, if success leaves clues, the more you're interested in other people, the further along you're going to be able to go. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. What would you say, like when you think about family and dynamics and as you're talking to people and thinking, what is the one thing that I could do, I guess if you're learning through yourself or you're studying people, because obviously you're talking to people, that you're able to pull out of people that makes them want to be attracted to you or to be around you or to listen to you. What do you think that is that you're pulling out of them that allows you to do that? Is it just because you're interested in them first?
People do like talking about themselves, but I think it's also like the lens of understanding. Like we're all a lot closer than we are apart. I think
Oh.
we, and in so many cases, people look for different reasons to like divide and find a reason to like not be able to relate or to connect with people.
Mhm.
And to each their own. Everyone decides how they want to approach life, but I really do think that we are all, beings, or we're spirits in our humanly forms that are on this spinning rock trying to figure out what we're going to do and, what exactly we're supposed to be here to do. I love what you said earlier in the beginning, because I align with that after, what do you feel like the grand, gigantic purpose of it all is?
Mhm.
And I agree. It's like, the purpose is truly to please God and to serve people. And
Yeah.
when you figure out you can do that and not do it the other way around, it's not about pleasing people and serving God. It's about pleasing God and serving people, because
Yeah.
you can get lost in the aspect of that. And so it's like when you're doing that, and I think to me a good life is just one where I get to go and bless other people, because by default the energy always comes back around one way or another. Whatever you sow, you reap what you sow. Or most people reap what they sow, because we all know they're heinous people that walk around the world that live quite healthy, good lives. But I don't think that that's necessarily how the dice that I want to roll, or how I think when it's all end and I get to look at my life on like a gigantic screen and look at, did you help or harm more people? And I understand I will have still harmed people, but I think it'll definitely fail in comparisons to the amount of people that I've helped. And that's what helps me, sleep at night and be excited and energized to take on new tasks and new things, and to find new opportunities to, be a blessing to others.
Oh man, I love that. Well, and as I'm thinking, I don't know if I can find a human, unless they just won't talk to me, that I can't find something in common with.
Yeah.
If you really try and you really look, like you said, we're closer to each other than we ever think. And I can't think of a situation where I've ever been having a conversation with an individual, with me listening, and find that I can't find something in common. Part of it is experiences that I make sure that I have, that I try to make sure that I'm, doing kind of similar to where you are. And part of it is if you listen long enough, you're going to find something that you have in common with somebody. Like right now, I'm listening to you, and I'm hearing scriptures, I'm hearing things, and I would love to hear about your faith and what your belief system is, and how that interacts with all the things that you do.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up definitely in a Christian household, and that's also what I believe. I definitely had moments of life, as anyone does, and I think they should, where you challenge your ideas, you challenge and question. It's the aspect of like, is this something that I believe for me, or something that I believe because this is what I've been introduced to? And what I found is like, this is something that I believe because it's what I believe in, and it's something that I've, through time and tests and plenty of
Mhm.
moments, I've realized that faith is that thing that kind of helps you continue walking and moving through all aspects of life. It also, there's the natural world and there's the supernatural world, right? And it's like
Mhm.
when you're moving in alignment of what you're supposed to be doing, there's doors and things that'll be open that you know no man could ever open, and there's things that'll be closed that no man can close that are protecting you. And it's like, even when things don't necessarily work out, I always look at it like that's nothing but protection at the end of the day. If I'm aligning with what I'm doing, I'm walking with my feet forward, and I'm not doing things to screw things up, because you can't be like, all right, I was supposed to do this and do this and do this, it doesn't work out, God's protected me from something else.
Mhm. Mhm.
No, it's like you have to show up as the person that you've been prepared to be in order to be ready to open that door, and also to cherish, whatever opportunities and things that we do have. So yeah, I'm big on the aspect of, if it's not for God, none of this would be possible. Each day, that I get to wake up and have a new opportunity, it's like we're blessed beyond measure just to be able-bodied, able-minded, and to have the world and life, and to be able just to create and have whatever it is that we want, whatever it is that He wants to order our steps to have. But faith without work is dead. So He can give you the vision, He can give you everything else, but it's like without the work, it's actually dead. But also, if you knew exactly what was planned, it takes away from the journey. How would you ever enjoy any of it if you knew exactly how it was going to end up? You know exactly how it was going to end. What would be the purpose of doing anything? Because you know what's going to happen at the end of it.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. And I so agree with you, because I wake up every morning, and before my first 10 minutes of the day has happened, is all the things I can be thankful for, all the things that I'm not living the lives of some other people, and that God has given me the ability to wake up one more time and to do, to be able to be on this earth and do some things. When I think of what gets us excited, where I think of learning and creating gets us super excited. I think relationships and connection get excited. I think contribution makes us excited. What are some of the things that when you think about what you're going to do in the future? I was listening to Myron Golden this morning. I don't know if you listen to any of the stuff that he's done, but he was just talking about like our futures, and he said anything that we think is going to happen in the future, we've made up. Like, if it's going to be good, we made it up. If it's going to be bad, we made it up. We make it up because we don't know what that future holds, just like you were just saying, right? We have no idea. So we might as well make up good things that are going to happen instead of bad things that are going to happen.
Yep.
Because we're going to make it up anyways, right?
Yep.
So talk to me about that just a little bit in your world of, the creating, contribution, connection. What is it that you're making up that's going to be so incredibly good?
I'm big on the aspect of where attention goes, energy flows. And so if you decide to focus on all the things that are, negative and not necessarily looking on solutions, because even every challenge is an opportunity. It's just about like shifting perspective of like how you look at it. Because it's like, unless it's something so to the point that you die, to me, it's like, if it's not death, it's like you still have, a reason to get up, to get out, or maybe not imprisonment for like the rest of your life. That could also be a very difficult thing where it's just like I'm going to be entrapped within something for the rest of my life. So if it's not something to that extreme, it's like we have nothing but time and energy to figure things out, to find someone to help us. Is this a problem that someone solved before, and is this something that I think is worth doing? For me right now, it's kind of like I love education. So it's like education, but education through sustainability. Before we got on, me and Dr. B were talking about a phone call that I had to take when it was scheduled because I was in Africa at the time. So it turned out being 4 a.m. here where I am on East Coast time. And I remember looking at it, I was like, do I want to take this call? Like, do I want to have to wake up early in the morning? Like, I normally will, of course, be asleep. Most of us are asleep during that time. And I was like, no, but I'm thinking about like the future that I'm looking to create. And if I don't get up and do that, then it's like faith without the work is dead. So it's like, all right, I have the faith that it can work out. I've done the effort and the energy to get the email, to set up the meeting, to, have the Zoom that's paid for and ready to rock. And then it's just like, all right, cool. Like, I still need to show up and do what I need to do. And it's like going to have that meeting, I think, was great because now it's opened up the door and gave me some insight to one of the universities that I'm looking to partner with. And it wasn't just about like, okay, cool. Like, we want to throw money at something and pay for a kid to go to school. It's like, all right, cool. Like, what are your attrition rates? What are your retention rates? Like, why are kids not making it through the program? What percentage of kids are not making it through the program? What do job opportunities look like for kids once they're finishing those programs? Because now it's like looking at it from a holistic standpoint of like, how do you not only help the kids kind of get into school, stay through school, but then how do you help them build sustainability once they're finished as well? And to me, that's where you start building better lives and shifting trees altogether. Of course, you don't have, it's an opportunity, not a responsibility. It's not a responsibility for me to figure out how to solve all of those different problems, but I look at it like it's an opportunity to create a better world. So why not do that? Communicate with others about what I'm looking to do. You find people to partner up together so we can do those things and just move the needle one bit at a time. Imagine if you're able to help 15 students, 10 students, hell, even one student. Imagine what that trickle down effect eventually does to the rest of the world.
Oh man, and to think that you're spending that time in those conversations and really thinking the holistic approach to stuff. You do so many different things, or you've done so many different things that trust sometimes can become an issue because, as a community, we've learned not to trust first. We've been told, well, you can't trust anybody until they prove they're trustworthy. But you can't move in the spaces that you're moving as fast as you're moving without this level of trust that is just assumed. Because
Yeah.
if you were distrusting everybody, you would have to be checking. You'd have to wait to see if they're proving they're wrong. Has that ever been a concern for you? Is who do I trust, or you just trust everybody until they prove you wrong? How's
Yeah.
that interacted in your life?
Yeah, I've definitely trusted blindly, and I've definitely been burned from it. But it's like one of those aspects of like you learn. I mean, of course, like in business is very kind of different than that, but it's like you learn throughout those experiences. You find better ways to safeguard it. You find the right people. I've been blessed that it's like there are anomalies where it's like I've had the moments where I was not able to have those moments or those trusting relationships consistently over time in comparison to like how many relationships started off with trust and how many doors and things were opened because of that. And with those doors continually open, because to me, it's just like, all right, it happened at some point. Like eventually, whatever is happening in the dark comes to light at some point. So even if that person or that thing that's untrustworthy, it's not been anything where it's like, all right, this has been 10 years or years of my life. It's like all those things come to light. And when they do, it's just creating a path, or to me, creating a lesson that helps me both safeguard myself or safeguard other people that are following behind me or walking beside me, of like how to avoid those exact same issues. Because it's like none of those things have put me in a position where I'm out or I'm dead. So at the end of the day, it might have been a headache. It might have been money loss. It could have been a lot of different things, but none of it was enough to ever stop, the ultimate goals or the things that were actually always going to happen. And I was always going to work to make happen one way or another.
Well, and then and how trust just plays a part in it. And thinking about trust, sometimes we live in this what if world. And what if this happens? What if that happens? And you're traveling, so you're entering different cultures, some that you're aware of. I mean, I think you said you were in the like the East, or you were in Asia for a little bit, and so that's a different culture. Than Africa is a different culture. Than the U.S. is a different culture, and different communities. And it's easy to play that what if this happens, what if that happens, and sometimes they're negative scenarios. Is your what if world more of what if this goes right than it is what if this goes wrong?
I think it's like caution is always like a thing for me. It's kind of like, what if this goes right? And then can I survive if everything goes wrong?
Okay.
And when I can admit the fact that, unless once again, it's like, death or something else, like I can make it through or whatever it is. I was in Thailand, funny enough. And like my phone got stolen when I was in Thailand. And then in the midst of that, it's like, okay, there's troubleshooting, but it's like, okay, am I dead? Like, can I go get another replacement phone? Can I still have a way of communicating and doing whatever it is I can? It's like, oh, like, yeah, I can do all those things. Matter of fact, I'll get it all done within the next 12 hours and I get back to enjoying myself. And it's like, that's kind of like how moving through, how it's like, we can have these small moments that end up taking away all the joy and happiness of like an entire experience, an entire trip, or, seeing another country, another culture. And just like, to me, I also get to look at it from the lens of like, he needed it more than I did. He had an opportunity that maybe he needed to feed his family and do something else. And this is the best method that he saw of doing it. That just is what it is. And that's fine. Like, I'm going to be fine. I am fine. I'm not going to die. I'm good. I can afford to go replace and do what I need to do. Life will go on. And yeah, everything's fine.
Yeah, you don't even think how much a blessing that could have been for him and his family. I mean, obviously, stealing a phone is wrong, but you just don't know the situation of his world and his family and the desperation that could have been there. And this is a great conversation, right? You were able to live for 12 hours without a phone. How many 30-year-olds in our country can't live without a phone for 20 minutes? What did you do without your phone?
I used my computer. I used my computer and scheduled what I needed to do. I made sure I communicated with people I needed to. This is what was going on. I'm not dead. I'm all right. Like I'll go and get a new phone. Like when the store opens tomorrow, and life will go on. Like,
oh, because I just see people even with my kids and like literally even you go to like dinner tables and you go to restaurants and you just like the people that are outside your world right now seem to be more important than the people that you are around. And I see you as a huge relationship guy. So as long as you had somebody to talk to, I don't know if you were talented, but it just, I can imagine the stories that you'll be able to tell for the rest of your life as a result of that 12-hour excursion of not having a device. You know, and in this day and age with the cloud and everything else backed up, I can't imagine it took, you know,
Yeah,
a ton of time to get your phone right back to the way it was.
precisely.
Oh my gosh. Oh, so as you're traveling and you're meeting people and you're moving, you know, money definitely is something. And when I'm, you know, this as Journey to Freedom has been a part of, you know, my life and so many lives of, you know, talking about these things that sometimes in our culture we never talk about. How have you been able to interact in your relationship with money where you're not always worried about that next amount of money coming in for you to be able to do the things that you're doing, or you started a business and you're worried that, oh, you know, if this business doesn't make enough money right now, then I'm not going to survive. How have you been able to have this relationship that allows money to flow in and out of your life?
For sure. And I think a lot of that comes with like time and also silencing a lot of the noise of what other people kind of like look at it. Because in the beginning, that was a lot more difficult because so many people were like, you know, like what happens if everything goes wrong? And then those thoughts and those limiting beliefs become the things that are anchoring in your head of just like,
Mhm.
oh crap, like what happens if things are wrong? What happens if money doesn't necessarily come in? And anyone that's been in business, if that hasn't happened to you, like prepare
It has
yourself,
happened,
prepare
yes.
yourself. It happens. So prepare
It
yourself,
will. Yeah.
embrace yourself. But it's like once you realize it's like another quote that I love from a good friend of mine is this so what I feared? When you get to those moments and you experience the things that you've been terrified of, whether put on by yourself or by other people, and then you go through it and you're like, oh, okay, all right, it's not that bad. Like you're like, let's continue moving on. And then you realize like I need to figure out how to be able to provide the most amount of value to the people that I care about or the people that I'd like to serve. Because when you do that, like you'll always have good things that consistently come back. When you do good work, great things always just consistently come back. Like, and that's just the easiest principle. There's been so much business that's come from just repeat business or from other people that have referred me because of doing good work and also doing a lot of work for free. Because like in the beginning, I was like, I wanted to do so much work that I can kind of like build up enough confidence that I'm like, all right, I can do this and I can execute at it. And also just doing favors. I believe I'm like you charge by client, not by service. Like just because someone may need something, like you're not gonna charge someone a Microsoft institution the same thing that you would charge like a mom and pop shop. So it's like do right by people, be fair, whatever your idea of like fair is. And I feel like the great things always come back around. New opportunities always come back around. I had a friend literally text me about like, hey man, like, you know, I got an opportunity, like, you know, can we chat? Da, 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 da. And normally as a finance person, no, people are saying that because they want me to invest money or do
Mhm.
something else or help them raise money for a deal. But it's like, oh no, like here's a contract for pretty much like six figures that I don't have bandwidth to do. Can you take over and do it? And it was something that's relatively simple. And it's like literally just like that. Like when doing and pouring into people and you know doing it right, like things always end up coming back.
I love it because like you said, when you serve others and you're willing to do a lot of that for free and do the goodwill of what that takes, it always comes back. It comes back tenfold. It comes back 100-fold, and you can't stop it. Right? It's because you're not sitting there in this world where you're going this world of lack. And I
Yeah.
hope maybe you can talk to me a little bit about that because what I find, and even when I see our country and the state that it's in, it's all based on this finite resource of whatever it is that we're trying to do. And somehow, if I have it and I give it to you, then it doesn't exist anymore. And I'm thinking the God that I serve is the God of abundance, and there is no lack of resources. And so I don't have to. I'm not worried every day that, hey, oh man, if I let Phillip know what I'm doing, then somehow I'm not going to have it anymore. I want to say it. Let me let Phillip know everything that I'm doing. We partner together and we go change the world.
Yeah.
Is that kind of how you look at stuff as abundance and not lack and able to help move through the way that you do?
100%. And then just making sure it's like QPO, like quality people only. Like I think being very strict, not with how you serve or how you bless people, but the people that you let into that inner sanctum of your life is what makes all of the difference in your world. Because when you need people to lean on and you need people to get things done, even if it came to like everything blows up and goes to nothing, I can call people and have money within minutes. It would literally be that simple because like those are the kind of ties and relationships like that are there where it's not from an aspect that this person is ignorant or this person to just go out and being wasteful, and then also vice versa. If it's anything that everyone's ever been in a place of need, it's like, oh, I can do it. It's like it's not a question. But yeah, like that's what those inner sanctums are supposed to be there to service each other, not just enjoy the good times, but be there to weather through the storms when things are terrible. Because we all have those terrible storms that happen, and it's not always just financial. Sometimes it's spiritual. Sometimes it's physical for our own health. Sometimes it's the health of like other people in our family, which causes other mental and emotional stress. But it's like those people that you're going to decide and like go through life with and weather those storms with, like whoever you decide to lock arms in battle really does decide how far you're going to go and how quickly you can navigate your problems.
Yeah, man, and you're just all these things that I'm thinking of as I'm having this conversation with you. And one of the questions that I've never asked anybody, I'm going to ask you, because I think you're going to be really good at answering it. And so, I talk about often is we are who the people that we hang out with, and we're always striving to be in better rooms. We're striving to be with, if I'm the smartest person in the room that I am, then I'm probably not in the right room anymore, and I got to continue to find. But we are closest to the 5 or 6 people that we're closest to. And the question I want to ask you is, what are some of the traits, if you think of your inner circle, what are some of the traits of those people that are in that circle that you get to serve and get to serve you?
Yeah. I would say kind is the first thing that comes to mind. Disciplined is another thing that comes to mind. Wildly intelligent, very much so community oriented. Uh, Visionaries, because everyone's very good at planning and looking forward and what it is that they want in their life, and then making visionaries that have enough space in their vision to encompass what everybody wants. I think that's another thing. A lot of people are good at casting visions for themselves, but their visions aren't big enough that they encompass their
Yes.
family, their friends, their loved ones, and even having the conversation to understand that far out what those people want. Because it's easy to just have an idea. Oh, maybe that this is what they want. Like I literally have moments where we catch up with friends and we talk about what it is that we're planning to do 10 years from now, and reverse engineering how to help each other do those things in the present time, and then revisiting those things because those things also change, and like that's okay. But it's like if you're not having that conversation consistently, it's like how can you really be there to help or serve or point out different things that could help those people to get where it is that they want to go. Uh, yeah. And then I would say like if there was
Man,
a
I love
quote, there was a quote to put it all together as far as like how I'd put a lot of it. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener at war. And though a lot of those people are kind, they'll cut people at their knees if they need to, if they get in the way of the people that they care about or their own visions. So it's like kindness by choice, not by default or not out of fear.
Oh man, I wrote all this down because it is so true. If you're surrounding yourself with people who are thinking like that all the time, you can't help but not start thinking that way, right? If you think of some people that are no longer in your circle, what are some of those traits that probably pulled them away from what you were trying to do?
Yeah, I just put it to a simple word of being mediocre. And when I say mediocre, I don't necessarily mean towards like my own ideologies of what it is that I want or see for other people. Mediocre towards the standards of what they said they wanted out of life. So I feel like when you're not aligning with that, it's not up to me to decide what you should be doing with your life or anything else like that. I want to see if you're aligning your actions towards what you said you want, because I can't be there and try to be pushing you or want you to have what it is you say that you want more than you making the actions and so forth. And if I'm ever as such, I would want someone to call me on it or move me out of the space, because that's a very dangerous thing to have around where people are like, oh, like I really do want this. I want this. But then wanting is free. Once again, does your sacrifice match your ambition? Or does your obedience match your ambition? Because a lot of people look at it, if I sacrifice enough, does it mean that something will automatically happen? But even if you have to be obedient long enough to see whether that even pays off, can you do that?
Man, when you think of that, how many people do we know that are not trying to be the best they can be at whatever it is they're doing? They're just okay existing. And if those are the people that you're hanging around with that are just okay existing, almost got to run, because you don't want that to be not only part of you, but it's hard to, if you have a vision and you have a dream and you're working to serve people and you're doing all these things and you're moving at 100 miles an hour and you have somebody who's just kind of there, it's like they're in the way, right? Like you're going to trip over on their way to go where you're at. So no, you got to leave that area of what you're doing. When you're like, so you have this group of folks that are, doing things are ready, and you're having these conversations. How often are these conversations happening? Is it just pretty much every time you're seeing them, or you hanging out playing video games all the time. What?
Yeah, so it's like pretty much when I see them. So it's a mixture. It's like I have some friends that like we'll meet like in larger groups like together every once in a while. I have some friends that like we can talk almost like on a daily basis. Some friends, but it's kind of like it's infrequent how often we talk. But that's the thing. It's like when it's nothing but great quality people in between. It's just like your life is so filled with greatness, for lack of a better sense, or iron sharpening iron. People going after their dreams, and then you figuring out how can I help them continue like move the needle just a little bit more, or help to encourage them when they're having like a hard moment, because we all have those hard moments. But when it's like we're all dedicating to doing hard things while we can, because at some point it's like you do the hard things now, life becomes easy later. Do all the easy things now, life becomes a lot harder later. But I think that's also a big thing of perspective. Sometimes a hard thing for people is just asking for help. And I think even having people that you can call and lean on when it's like, hey, look, like I'm stuck right here. Like either I like the answer, lead me, follow me, or get the hell out of my way. But these are people that normally it's like when you feel safe enough, it's just like, crap, this is where I'm at. You know what my long-term vision is. I'm too much in the weeds. Like lead and help me guide through how I need to be navigating this scenario. Or it could be the aspect of like, yo, like I'm about to go down this dark valley right now. Like, can you follow me and make sure you got my six? And then it's like those other people where it's like mediocrity. Then you're like, you just got to get the hell out of my way, because like you're not going to be allowed to be there, because you can't help me strategize. You can't help watch my back. You can't be in the space. But those people they're the first two.
Yeah, and I can see if you have a group that's that way, you're almost fighting not to be the mediocre person, right? Not to show up as I have to go with my game on because I don't want to lose this connection. How much of a time should a person, or how much time do you spend working on you, working on bettering you? You know, and I know there's all kinds of ways of doing it. You know, you kind of said at the beginning, I didn't like to read a lot of books or things now. Or how are you working on you, and what's that percentage look like of all the time that you're, your wake time? I mean, obviously you sleep, but it's working on you. And I'm not sure it's not a certain amount of time every day, but just kind of a general, what does that look like?
To me, it's more so like a being than it is like a fixation. And so it's like if you're consistently like in the frame of mind of like, it's like growth versus fixed mindset. If I'm always considered like, how do I grow and how do I be better? It's like everything that you do is gonna like encompass some aspect of like, how do I do that more? How do I be better at that? How do I do that better? And like each day is gonna look very different, but it's like, how do I show up and be just 1% better? You don't need to be like a million times better than anything. Just how to be 1% better. Like, did I handle all those scenarios exactly like as I should? Did I respond to those things in like the best way that I could have? Or how do I need to do that better because I wasn't in the space to do that in that particular sense? And then taking time to like reflect. I think like blocking off time to really just sit down and like be, rather than just like go, and like having time to sit back and reflect helps a lot with that. But it's kind of like we get into this pilot. One of my favorite books, Outwitting the Devil, talks about how we get into this hypnotic rhythm of life. And the way I look at it is like autopilot, or like a GPS isn't bad if you set the right coordinates or destination to go to. But if you don't know where you're going, or if you set your destination to the wrong place, you can make a lot of practice, and practice does make improvement. You can be improving in the wrong direction. So having those moments to check in and make sure that like your actions and everything is aligning with your long-term vision. You're not being mediocre, and your sacrifices match your ambition as far as like what you said you're supposed to be doing, how you said you're supposed to be moving, and then making sure you have those other people that are like walking alongside you to like get it all done. It's kind of like, it's very hard not to fail. It's so hard. It's like at that point, you really almost got to be intentional at that point of like, I just want to be worse, or I'm choosing to be worse, because you're already in the thought of like, how can I do that a little bit better? Or how does it move the needle? Or is this optimal? And if this is optimal, like what's the next thing like I need to work on so that I can show up and do it with like a gracious heart and like a kind heart, with excitement, not out of like obligation. We're not obligated to anything. So there's just a lot of opportunities to create the life that we want, or just enjoy the one that we have. And once you kind of hit whatever that ceiling or that point is for you, it's okay to be like, all right, I think I'm done growing. I think I'd like just to chill. And that's good too. But you got to be able to communicate that so people can look at it and be like, they're operating in excellence in the aspect of, they said they want to be still. I'm sure there's plenty of people that are like, I want to retirement. I'm not supposed to be working, I'm supposed to be spending time with family, but then working, everything creeps back up. and it's taking away from what would have been the excellence in that season, which would be them being still or them not working. So it's like until we communicate what it is that we're supposed to be doing, other people can't hold us accountable to whether we're doing it or not. And that looks different in every season.
Yeah. Do you journal?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you reflect on the things that you wrote or the things that come back. It's kind of, it's neat to find people that you can kind of tell that this is what they're doing. When we think about entertainment, and
Yeah.
I think entertainment's important. We need to have entertainment, but sometimes I think the balance gets way off on the people who are just always, I don't know, using entertainment as a distraction from their life instead of educating themselves how to get out of that distraction. How have you been able to I guess balance entertainment versus education? And I guess when you're always going somewhere, you're always trying to be more educated, and entertainment just becomes. But there's just so many people, especially in our culture, that like they almost work. I don't want to say worship, but it's like the entertainment becomes so part of who they are that they can't grow. Does that make sense?
Mm. Yeah. I think it's kind of like, it's like diet at the end of the day. It's like our diet is so much more than just, what we eat. It's, what we think, the conversations that we had, like how we speak to people, like all of these things like create our environment, which create our diet. And I think it
Mhm.
really comes down to the aspect of sometimes entertainment becomes so great or so interesting because it's like, this is the best I could ever get of enjoying this aspect of life. And it's like I like basketball, for example. I love basketball. I love playing basketball. I love watching basketball. But to me, like I'd be very bored at just watching a bunch of basketball. I'd actually play. I'd enjoy playing it a lot more than watching it. But there's a lot of people that are just like, oh, like I can't do that. So like I'd rather just watch it instead. And I think depending on what your realm of life is, there should be some things where it's like, all right, I enjoy seeing a little bit of, but I enjoy doing it a lot more. Or I want to watch it because I want to use it to get better at something. I want to watch people speak publicly so I can get better at how to do it. I want to watch people cook so I can become a better cook. I want to watch people serve so I can be better at serving. It's like all these things can kind of like wrap together around like we can be sharpened by our education, or we can very much so use it as a escape from our current reality or from what we're too afraid to work and what we're too afraid to be successful at. Because that's a lot of the times too. People are more afraid of success than they are of failure. So they're like, what happens if I do try it and then I end up being really great at it, and how much that's going to shift? It's like we get very comfortable in like how life is, and it's very difficult to get comfortable with uncomfortability.
Yeah. It's funny how you say it, because I have, I don't know if for acquaintance or family that they'll interact with, and they'll come to me and they're like, I'm just struggling, and then they go through all the things that are going on in their life, and they can't maintain, and they can't go. And then, the next conversation, they're telling me about 15 different shows and what's going on in 15 different boxes. And I'm like, I get it. I know exactly why you're struggling. You're spending all of your waking moments watching somebody else play pretend and make a
Yeah.
whole bunch of money at somebody else playing pretend. And then you're not doing anything. What did you do to improve yourself last week? What did you do to, did you journal? Did you even think about what your life is going to look like later? Are you just living your life? Like, they know more about Patrick Mahomes and his stats than they know about their own kids and what their kids are doing. Like, somehow we got to get this education thing. Like, you don't get to watch a lot of TV until you've done all the things that you want to do, but then that dream isn't there, I guess. And so is there something that for you sparks that dream every day when you wake up, like, I want to get this done today, or I can't wait for this day to happen to see what's going to transpire as a result of it? What does that look like when you wake up every day?
Yeah. So I have two main rules, anyways. I do things I enjoy with people I enjoy. If I ever feel like some of those things necessarily change, then like I don't do those things anymore, because I think even just the spirits of like how we are and how we feel dictates so much of what happens when we walk through doors and we have experiences. As far as like I can get the aspect of how people do all those other things, because most of human behavior is designed to alleviate suffering. So even when it's the aspect of I'm choosing to go live in whatever reality show or like go crazy on the stats, etc., it's because like I don't want to face whatever the other reality is. I think the challenge to most people would be like, I would challenge you, if you think you have great relationships with all those people in your life, go and talk to them and ask them their bare honest truth of how great the relationship actually is from their lens. Because whatever you think it is often is not what it is. And if we're not willing to get to reality, and then we get stuck in feeling bad, but what does feeling bad do? Feeling bad doesn't help or do anything else.
No.
You should actually be quite excited to learn that I thought that this was a really great relationship, but I've been lacking, because now I have the opportunity to make it better. If I didn't know what the reality of what it was and how they actually felt, imagine what would have happened more years down the line, whether that's with a kid, with a spouse, with a friend, with a partner, business partner, whatever it may be. When we can get to the reality of what things are, we can make real moves that make real improvements on our life.
Okay. So, thank you so much. I mean, we're kind of winding down on time, and I want to give you the opportunity. I've been so selfish asking you all these million questions that I want to know so I can be better. I'm trying to be, I generally want to be interested. I'm not trying to, I truly want to hear everything you're saying. And so, but I want to give you the opportunity, anything that you didn't get to talk about that you want to, any websites that people can go to, any books you want to recommend, please take the opportunity right now to just talk to us about where you're at and what you're thinking.
For sure. You can definitely find me on social media at my name, Phillip, PHILLIP.KARAYA on those platforms. Outside of that, I would say favorite books that I recommend. Outwitting the Devil is easily number one. I would say The Courage to Be Disliked, another conversation style books. Both of those books are very good audiobook style. First one is a conversation between Napoleon Hill and the devil. The second one is between a philosopher and the student, and it talks a lot about how we screw up relationships by putting them into hierarchies rather than realizing that we're all just people kind of going through our own experiences in life. Third, I would say Third Circle Theory is another book that I would definitely recommend everyone check out. And it's a pretty short, quick read. That one you don't have to do audiobook. And then outside of that, I would just say, like, I would challenge you to figure out how to communicate with the people that you care about so you can create the best relationships that you have in all aspects of life, and go live out your wildest dreams while you can, because tomorrow isn't promised, which is why today is called the present.
Oh, man, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time with us today. Thank you for, there's so much to unpack in what we talked about over the last 45, 50 minutes. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to go back. I'm gonna take notes. I'm gonna write down some credible quotes that you talked about that I think I need to write down and put up on my wall, and things to think about. The way that you enter life on a daily basis is just so inspirational, and I hope people will be able to take that and say, "This, if Phillip can do this, I can do it too." And hopefully they will connect with you or contact you or find you on social media and say, "Hey, I don't know how to do this. I'm a little bit stuck on this. What would you do in this case? Because I feel like I just had a master class, and this is how to live an abundant, awesome, incredible life." And so thank you for being on. For those of you who thought this was a great episode, there's so many more. Hit the notification button, hit the subscribe button. We got so many cool tool guests that continue to come on who are showing us how not to be stuck, how to live this abundant life that's just amazing if you allow it to be. I want you to know that you're God's greatest gift. He loves you if you allow him to, and that we look forward to seeing you in each and every one of this, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. So you have an amazing day. Any one final thought that you want to give, Phillip?
All right, the last quote that I'll give, which was one that I got from an awesome guy that I randomly met at an airport, which was, "You want what you waste." If you want time, it's because you waste time. If you want money, it's normally because you waste money. So go out there and don't waste a single thing that matters to you.
Oh, so good. So good. Thank you. We'll look forward to talking to you guys on the next one. Have a great day.